You're probably scrolling through a dozen TV ads right now, wondering if any of them will actually live up to the promise of a cinemasized picture without turning your living room into a constant maintenance nightmare. You want something that just works bright enough for daytime binge watching, smooth enough for the latest games, and priced so you don't feel a pang every time you turn it on. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The biggest hesitation most people have with a 75-inch screen is the risk of stepping into a big buttricky zone. A TV that large can dominate a space, but if the picture washes out in sunlight or the menu system is a maze, you end up spending more time tweaking settings than actually watching. That's why I started by looking at how the TCL QM8K series fits into a typical family room, a gaming setup, and a home theater corner, rather than just scanning its spec sheet. First off, the QM8K uses a QD Mini LED backlight, which is TCL's way of saying you get more dimming zones than a standard LED TV. In practice, that translates to a brighter, more punchy HDR image in a sun-filled room. I tested the TV by placing it opposite a large window with direct afternoon light, and the anti-reflective coating really does keep glare at bay. The colors stayed saturated without the usual halo effect you see on older LEDs, making daytime sports and movies feel more immersive without a separate blackout curtain. If you're a gamer, the 120,144 Hz refresh rate and the game accelerator 288 are the headlines you'll hear. What that means day to day is a smoother motion picture when you're playing fast-paced shooters or racing titles. I paired the TV with a current-gen console and noticed the input lag drop noticeably after enabling the accelerator mode, which automatically optimizes the HDMI handshake and boosts the frame rate. For most casual gamers, the experience feels comparable to a dedicated gaming monitor, but you won't get the full HDMI 2.1 bandwidth that true 4K 120Hz gaming demands on the latest consoles. If you need the absolute lowest latency for competitive play, you might still look at a high-end TV with certified HDMI 2.1 VRR support. The built-in Google TV platform is another practical point. It's essentially Android TV with a revamped UI, and because it's Google-powered, you get the entire Play Store of apps, Google Assistant integration, and a hands-free voice remote that lights up when you speak. Setting up a streaming service was as easy as saying, "Hey Google, open Netflix," and the remote's backlit keypad made nighttime browsing painless. The downside is that the interface can feel a bit cluttered if you have a lot of apps installed, and the search algorithm sometimes prioritizes ads over your actual library. If you're already in the Amazon or Roku ecosystems, you might find the transition a little less seamless than you'd hoped. Dolby Atmos speakers built into the TV add a layer of spatial audio that works well for dialogue and movie soundtracks. In a typical living room layout sofa about 8 feet away, the Atmos effect creates a sense of height without needing a separate soundbar. However, the speakers are still limited by the thin panel design, so the bass is tight rather than deep. If you're an audiophile who expects theater-grade low frequencies, you'll probably want an external sound system. For most families, the built-in audio is more than enough for TV shows, YouTube, and casual gaming. One hidden trade-off that shows up after a few weeks is the panel's uniformity. The CRYSTGLOW WHVA panel is marketed for wide viewing angles, and I tested that by sitting on the opposite side of the couch and at a 45-degree angle. The picture stayed consistent, with minimal color shift, which is great for large, open-plan spaces where people watch from different spots. Yet because the TV uses local dimming rather than full-array OLED, you'll still see a faint bloom around very bright objects against dark backgrounds. In a dark home theater setting, that can be a slight distraction during horror movies or sci-fi scenes with strong backlighting. The remote itself is a premium voice control unit with a built-in microphone and backlit keys. It's comfortable enough to hold for long sessions, and the backlight helps you navigate menus in a dim room. The only practical gripe is that the microphone can pick up background chatter, leading to occasional misfires when you try to launch a specific app. A quick press of the mute button on the remote solves it, but it's a small annoyance if you have a noisy household. Now, who should actually consider spending on a 75-inch QM8K? If you have a medium to large living room, enjoy streaming 4K HDR content, and want a TV that can double as a decent gaming display without buying a separate monitor, this model hits the sweet spot. It's also a solid choice for families who watch together from various angles, thanks to the wide view panel and anti-glare coating. The price point sits below many premium brands, so you get a lot of the visual punch for a relatively modest investment. On the flip